Hello everybody, my name is John. Wait, do I start this one off with a...
Hey, cheers, Spanks and bro.
I forgot how I introed this show. Okay, I think we're ready now. Buckets, showtime. Hey there, Pepperdines and Lemon Limes. My name is John, and welcome to episode 4 of Q&Jay, where I answer your questions. It's been a while since we had one of these. I know last month it was April, it was Poetry Month, so it's been over 2 months since we had episode 3 of Q&Jay. There's been a big gap, but I promise you, we're back on the train. Q&J's, 7-minute sermons, still gonna do some spoken word. It's gonna be awesome. Let's not waste any time today. Let's get right into your questions. Question number 1, go.
What advice would you give to a Christian living in a Muslim country or just a non-Jesus-y place?
Okay, first of all, I have to give a big thank you to Joanna who asked this question. Joanna has been a fan of this channel for a long time. She's been a huge supporter. Joanna, you're always reaching out to me on Twitter. I really appreciate your encouraging words. Thank you for your question, but thank you more for your encouragement. To answer your question, the advice that I would give to a Christian living in a Muslim country, to a Christian living in a Buddhist country, to a Christian living in a Jewish neighborhood, to a Christian living in a Christian neighborhood are all the same. It would be to be a light, to love people, to use your gifts, and to be a light. To me, I read in the Bible where Jesus says to be the light of the world, not just a light in dark places, but also a light in places that are already light, or places that are kind of getting dimmer. I think the Bible is pretty clear for any Christian anywhere as far as what our calling, what our purpose is. It's to love God, it's to love others, it's to use our gifts, it's to be a light. And the last thing I'll say about this, and this is something I've said a lot on this channel, is that I really do believe that actions speak louder than words. Meaning that someone who is acting out their faith in tangible ways, loving people in tangible ways, that person has a better chance of evangelizing or witnessing or having an impact on someone's life than someone who's walking around just talking about faith or quoting Bible verses or preaching, hellfire and brimstone sermons to people. I believe that actions speak louder than words. So my advice to someone in a non-Christian environment or country would be to love others. It would be to be a light. It would be to use your gifts. And it would be to do all of that with actions first before you start speaking. Next question.
How would you decide what to stick to when you have so many opportunities that you can choose from?
Mikhaili, thank you for your question. And also, Mikhaili, also thank you for your support. You have always been such a huge supporter of mine, and I really, really appreciate that. So without knowing the specifics of your situation and the specifics of the opportunities that are placed in front of you, I'll say a couple things generally that might help anyone who's struggling with multiple doors that God is opening in their life. The first thing I'll say is, please, I encourage you to not give into that social pressure or that expectation or that status quo that tells us that we have to choose one thing right away and we can't choose anything else. Prime example, I graduated college with a degree in acting and musical theater. Then I moved to New York City for a couple years, worked as an actor, and now I'm not acting. What am I doing as my career now? I'm making YouTube videos. I'm going and speaking. I'm writing books. You see, all these things, acting and speaking and videos and everything, they were always passions of mine. They were always opportunities. But sometimes there's a season where you walk through one door, and then for a while you leave that and you go to the next thing. And then for a while you leave that and you go to the next thing. And while that's not necessarily normal in our society, I think that is totally okay. So I guess what I'm saying is 2 things. 1, don't feel like you can't do both or all 3 or all 4. And 2, maybe choose one for this season, pursue it, and when you pursue it with all your heart, and then when that season comes to a close, put that aside for a while and pursue the next opportunity and the next thing, even if it's totally different. Again, this is not socially acceptable, but also it's not necessarily the right way to go about things. It's not the only way to go about things. But if you are faced with a bunch of opportunities, I would encourage you, maybe try one now and then try the next. Don't think that you have to decide when you're 18 years old, this is what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life, because chances are that's not what you're gonna end up doing for the rest of your life. Choose something, pursue it with all your heart, pray about it, God will lead you in the right direction. Promise you that. Next question.
If you were in one of the shows on Broadway right now, what show would you be in and why?
You know, I don't really talk much on this channel about musical theater or Broadway, but I decided to take this question because I thought it was kind of self-explanatory. Because I think if any sane human being could choose a Broadway musical to be in right now, they would probably choose Alexander Hamilton. But you know what? I've never been one to go with the trends. So you know what I'm gonna say? I'm actually gonna say the revival of Fiddler on the Roof. The reason I say that is because one of my best friends from college is in it. I'm so proud of him. I'm so excited. It would be fun to perform with him in it. That would be really cool. But at the end of the day, let's be honest, wouldn't we all want to be in Alexander Hamilton? Next question.
What is your opinion on denominations and disunity in the church?
Jared, I am so glad you asked this question because this is something I have recently become incredibly passionate about. Let me tell you the story. So last fall, as many of you know, I went on my very first US tour. Sweet Bear and I got in the car, we drove 11,000 miles, we stopped in 17 cities over the course of 30 days. It was amazing, it was fun, it was awesome. I loved it. Thank you to all of you who helped to make that happen. And as we stopped at all these different churches and all these different schools, all of them were all of these different denominations. We stopped at Catholic schools. We stopped at Baptist churches. We stopped at Lutheran churches. We stopped at non-denominational churches. We stopped everywhere you could imagine. And something that really touched me every time I walked into the doors of a new building was how welcomed I felt and how welcomed I was, regardless if I shared their denomination or not. And I think the reason I felt so welcomed, and I think the reason that they welcomed me, was because they had seen my videos and they're like, you know what, John? You are on Team Jesus. You are all about introducing people to Jesus, and we love that. We support that. We're gonna get behind that. And I have to be honest with you, I was really surprised when I received such welcome from people in all these different denominations. And I know that might sound terrible, but all you hear about this denomination versus that denomination in the church is how they're fighting over whether Christians should be able to drink or whether gay people should be able to get married. They're just fighting over this, over that, over this, over that. And so I was kind of expecting them to fight me on things. But what I found, and what I think is so true, and what I think we all, regardless of denomination, need to focus on more, is that what we were focusing on, me and these people that were inviting me, we were focusing on the one thing that was most important, that Jesus is Lord and we wanted to introduce people to him. We were focusing on that, rather than focusing on the 100 maybe sort of insignificant things that maybe we disagree on. We instead focused on the one thing that really matters. And if there's one thing I could say to any church or any person in any denomination out there, it would be to plead all of us to start focusing on the things that truly matter, rather than just focusing on fighting about these millions of other things that don't really matter at the end of the day. Next question. Oh wait, that's the last question. Well, thank you all for watching this episode of Q&Jay. I really appreciate it. If you do have a question for the next Q&Jay, episode 5, please leave it down below. I would love to hear your question. Maybe I'll answer some of the questions that I don't get to in the next episode. I'll answer them down below in the comments, so make sure to comment down below, okay? Below. Also, for those of you who don't know, I just opened a bookstore on my site. It has all of my books there. You can buy all of them at cheap prices, and all those physical copies that you buy, they are signed. That link is down below in the description. Not quite as below as your comments are below, but still below. So I'd appreciate it if you check out the bookstore, maybe buy a book. It would mean a lot to me. Last but not least, I love you all. Last but not least, subscribe to the channel. Last but not least, keep being awesome. But don't forget to dance.